Okay, here is video number 2 of volume of cones. Now, the last time we did this, your job was to finish, I believe, 2, 3, and 4. So I gave you the basic structure for getting them done, and I gave you how to do that with number 1. So I just did 2, 3, and 4 on my own, but let me walk you through how we did these, and hopefully you guys can just take a look at your homework and understand that that's what we are doing. But let's walk through it a little bit. Okay, so for number 2, the biggest thing to remember for number 2 is that we do not have the radius. So we have the diameter and we have the height. So the radius is going to be half of 58. So that's why when you go in here and you look at our standard formula, which is 1/3 of pi times the radius squared times the height, I have 29 squared because I needed to take half of 58 in order for that to be the radius. So it's going to be 1/3 of pi times 29 squared times 58. So 29 squared is 841. So 841 times 58 is how we get this number. And then, 841 times 58 times pi divided by 3. I did all of that in one step. So what I did was pi times 841 times 58 equals, and then I said divided by 3 equals, and this is the answer that you get, 51,080 and 2/10 cubic miles. Okay, big number there. All right, let's look at number 3 then. Same thing, only for number 3 we already have the radius. That was kind of nice. So again, it's 1/3 pi times the radius squared times the height. So in this case, it's 1/3 pi times 5 squared times 15, or 1/3 of pi times 25 times 15. So we're taking 1/3 of 1,178 and 9/100ths, and we get 392 and 70/100ths cubic kilometers. Remember, you guys can pause me anytime. You know that, in case you have to catch up. Okay, so here again we have the radius. So this is pi times 8 squared times 22. So all of that divided by 3 gives you 1,474 and 45/100ths cubic centimeters. Okay? All right. Now, I did 5 for you. And now I'm doing number 6, which I hoped that you might be able to figure out. So remember, they gave us the volume, but they did not give us the radius, so we have a missing piece. So we're going to start by having the volume, which is 45,976 and 2/10. That's going to be equal to pi times whatever our radius is squared times 56. So what I did was I took the number again, volume, and I multiplied pi times 56, which is 175 and 93/100ths. That's going to be times the radius squared, and we don't have the radius squared. So we divide both sides by 175 and 93/100ths, and we get 261 and 33/100ths. Now we take the square root of that because this number is equal to our diameter, our radius squared. So the square root of that is 16 and 17/100ths, and I need to add my my units, and that would be meters. Okay, and that is our x, that's our radius. Okay, so then again, for number 7, it is the same thing. They give us the volume. They even give us, I got caught there in my jacket. They even give us the height. They don't give us the diameter. So here is our radius. I figured all of that out. Here's our volume is equal pi times the radius squared times the height. So after we figure out what pi times the height is, we're left with that. We find the square root of our number, and that's this. So our diameter, I did not quite finish it. So our diameter is equal to twice this, so it's going to be roughly 30 millimeters. Okay. All right, and then here we are with this one as well. They're asking for the height of the cone. So again, we use our same formula. We start with what they give us for the volume. We plug in the pi and then our radius, which is 8 squared times the height. So when we multiply pi times 64, that's 8 times 8, we get 201 and 6/10. We divide both sides by that, and our height is 9 and 67/100 yards. Okay, that is how we are going to work that one. So now what we're going to do is, I get to go backwards a little bit. We're going to take a look at the error analysis, all right? And this will be, I guess this could be one lesson. You might have to pause it and it may take you a little bit of time to get through it, but that's okay. All right, so we are going to calculate the volume of this. So we know that our volume is equal to 1/3 pi times the radius squared times the height. So do we have that here? No, we have 1/3 pi times the height squared times the radius. So that's not going to give us the right answer at all. So we want 1/3 pi. The radius in this case is 7 squared times 20. So it's going to be 1/3 of pi times 7 squared. 7 squared is 49. Okay, so I'm going to do this like I've been doing it. I'm going to do pi times 49 times 20, and then I'll be able to figure out what my answer is, and I can divide it by 3. So I'm going to do pi times 49 times 20 equals. And then I'm going to divide that by 3 equals. So I get 1,026 and 25/100. Cubic inches. Okay? All right. So same thing here. Our volume is always going to be the same. It's going to equal 1/3 pi radius squared times the height. So our radius here is going to be half of 18. They did not take half of 18, did they? They took the diameter. So we're going to have 1/3 pi 9 squared times 21. So I know that's going to be 1/3 of pi times 9 squared. 9 times 9, 81 times 21. All right, so again, I'm going to do my pi times 81 times 21 equals, divided by 3 equals. So 1,781 and 28/100. 1,781 and 28/100 cubic miles. That's a lot, huh? Okay. All right, here we go. Here they are asking us to find the radius. They've given us the volume, and they've written it down so that you can see their volume is at the end, which is fine. So 1/3 pi times x. They did not mention that this is squared, right? So let's see if we get close to what they have and find out if 16 is even a viable answer. Okay, I'm going to do it the other way around just because I always do it this way. So same pattern every time helps me to remember. So volume equals 1/3 pi times the radius squared times the height. Okay, so we have the volume. The volume is 536 and 17/100. We have 1/3. We have pi. We don't have the radius squared, but we do have the height, which is 32. So 536 and 17/100 is going to be equal to pi times 32. Clear. So pi times 32 equals, okay. So this is going to be 1/3 of 100.53 times the radius squared. So I'm going to do this part first. I'm going to take 1/3 of this, okay, and yeah, and then we'll see if we can figure out what's going on here. Did they even do 1/3? I guess they did do 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to divide this by 3, which is 33 and 51/100. So yes, they did. So 33 and 51/100 times the radius squared. So if we divide this and we divide this by 33.51, okay, we're going to have 500, oh, sorry, you guys can't see that, 36.17 divided by 33.51 equals 16. Okay, so we are good. So 16 is the radius squared. So we need to know what the square root of 16 is, and I know that one. You guys do too. What number multiplied to itself is 16? Four. So 4 yards is our radius. Okay. All right. The last one is this. We want the approximate value of x if the volume is one thing, right? Where we have the radius, but we don't have the height. So again, we'll just go with this. So we know it's going to be our volume is 376 and 99/100 is going to be equal to 1/3 pi times 4 squared times the height. So we're going to do 4 squared, which is 16. So we'll do pi times 16, which is 50.27. And we're going to take 1/3 of that. So it's 16.75 times the height is going to be this number. What I did was I said pi times 16 divided by 3. Okay? Okay, so we'll end up with dividing both sides by 16 and 75/100. Oh, you guys can't see that again. And that's going to give us our height. So we'll go back here and we'll say 376 and 99/100 divided by 16 and 75/100, and we get 22.5 meters. Okay? All right, and that is your job for the next lesson.